Hey everybody, it's Jared here from Gong. I'm an account executive. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how I use Gong to manage my follow-ups, manage my deals, track all my past history with key accounts, as well as collaborate and win with all parties within my company, and then also use Gong to stay in front of the customer and improve my own behaviors as it relates to behavioral stats from one call to the next. So first things first, after every single call I have with a customer, I'll come in and I'll listen to the call at about 2x speed. Sometimes, if I'm feeling really risky, I might listen to it at 2.5x speed. Benefit of what I'm doing here is as I'm typing in my follow-up email with the customer, I'm following the same format of that follow-up email every time. I'm telling the customer thanks for their time. Oh, by the way, here's the use cases we covered on the call, and here's the next steps in the sales process. That way they know, and then they can keep track of the use cases that we've covered. It also makes it easy for me to go back into the account view and search for those conversations as it relates to use cases. The other benefit I like about listening to the call at 2x speed is that I can get through it much quicker and hear things that the customer might have said that I missed. It lets me hear kind of their sentiment and then just overall the pain points and challenges they're trying to solve. So in case I missed it during the conversation, I can take that information and ask follow-on questions in the next meeting. If for whatever reason I happen to demonstrate something or I want to share something back with the customer that happened during a certain point in the call, I come up here and I share the call. I share it with customers, but specifically I'll pull out the section of the call that they told me was interesting to them or that I know will be interesting to them and other people in the company. And then in my follow-up email, when I tell them this is a use case we covered, I'll give them maybe 10 days to actually replay the call, and I'll get a shareable link and copy and paste this hyperlink into my email as part of the use case follow-up. That way they can revisit whatever we covered. Constantly keeps me in front of them, allows them to share the information to other colleagues that might find it useful. And then it also is helpful for me when I go back and review that follow-up email from one conversation to the next. Okay. The other thing I like to do from time to time is I'm replaying the call back. If there's key things that came up where I need to let my teammates know, perhaps maybe at 10 minutes and 35 seconds into the call, I can come over here on the right-hand side in the comments section. Gong will automatically recognize that I've moved forward in the conversation to about 10 minutes and 36 seconds, whatever I marked it. And from here is where I can really tag the people I need help with. Maybe my sales engineer, maybe my manager, maybe even a teammate, or perhaps even my CEO, right? And whatever I tag them at that point in time when I've earmarked, listen to this information, great insight, it alerts them automatically through email and allows me to start collaborating very quickly to get in front of any objection or information that I need to let the whole team know. The other good thing about this too is I get feedback from my teammates on how they might have done something differently to give the customer a better experience. So instantly I start collaborating, I get other additional insights to help me close these deals in a much quicker way and get different perspectives. So as I send my follow-up email, as I said, I'm listening back to the call at 2x speed, listening for anything the customer might have said that was important. I'm also getting these short snippets to share with the customer that's important. And the reason for that is because when I want to come back in and manage this deal from one stage to the next, I can come back into this call as I get ready for my next conversation with them maybe a week later. And I can click this little timeline right up here that's going to give me a drop down of every interaction that I've had with this customer. Because I'm emailing them, I'm having multiple conversations with them, it quickly shows me how engaged they are. And then I can simply click this plus sign over here to show me who's actually engaged as well. But why I like to leverage this a lot is because I can zoom in and look at it from a 1 month view. And as I get ready for the next meeting, or maybe a meeting 3 months from now, and I want to come back and review what we initially talked about on that first call, I can simply click in to any one of these emails or these calls, and it opens up the account view for me to go back and look for anything that was said in the conversation. Now, if you remember, I always use the same template in my follow-up emails. I always mention the use cases we covered, how our solution aligns to their challenges, and what the next steps are. So now, if I'm trying to think maybe 3 months later, what were the initial use cases we covered on that first call? It's really hard for me to go back and look through any past emails, CRM data, or just look through any paper notes. Benefit of Gong is that it keeps track of all that history. But if I want to specifically come in and find what those use cases were that we talked about, I'll come up here in the search function, I'll type in use case, surfaces all those conversations on the left-hand side where we talked about use cases. And interestingly enough, here's one of those follow-up emails that I mentioned. And the benefit is I can now click on this specific email to show those use cases we covered and leverage that from one call to the next. The other use cases we covered that was important to somebody. And I have the same template as I build on one conversation to the next and say, we talked about this use case back in October, this use case, the end of October, et cetera, et cetera. And I constantly build on the business case that the customer is telling me they're trying to solve because I have every use case that we talked about from one call to the next. Okay. Now, this is just one deal. I try to do this for every single opportunity. And the benefit of Gong now is that we look at this timeline with one opportunity. What I like to do on Sundays and Mondays is come up to this actual deals tab right here. And this is how I'm able to manage my deals better. When I click on this deals tab, it gives me the option to look at my open deals and guarantee and make sure that I'm staying in front of them in a proper manner, as well as in a timely manner. So what I'll do is I'll come up here, I'll type in my name, and I'll look for deals that are closing during a certain duration. Generally, I filter it by looking at deals that are closing for the quarter. And I only want to look at deals that are open. Gong surfaces to me from kind of a satellite view all the deals that I'm currently working on the left-hand side, as well as how active they are. And it also guarantees me whether or not I've got a next step in the meeting or in the calendar with these clients. And so I can see very quickly whether or not I'm not following up with folks or if there's been a delay in follow-up. And this tells me immediately I need to get back in front of folks and start multi-threading. And if I'm not for sure who I talk to in a specific deal, all I've got to do is simply come over here on the left-hand side, click on the opportunity. I can now see that maybe a few days have passed since we last talked to these folks. Who were we talking to? And whether I need to get back in front of them. And so every week, what I'm doing is I'm coming in, looking at my deals from a high-level view. When was the last time I followed up with folks? How big was the gap from time to time? And make sure I'm constantly staying in front of them to keep the conversations active, or I just close it out as a deal that I'm not going to manage. Okay. So this is the best way of how I manage my deals every week, especially as I get ready for the forecast. And then the great thing about this as well, when it comes to improving my behavior, I come over here on the left-hand side via the stats and look at my stats from time to time to see if there's areas that I can improve. And generally, once a month or twice a month, I pinpoint a specific stat that I'm trying to improve on my conversations and focus on it by either asking better questions, being more patient, working on my talk ratio, so that way I can provide the customer a better experience rather than dominating the conversation, or making sure I'm asking more insightful questions. Hopefully you'll find some tips and tricks in here to help you not only manage your follow-up better, manage your deals, but also track past history if you need to, as well as collaborate with other team members and win deals quicker. Continually stay in front of the customer, making sure that you're touching everyone possible and multi-threading accordingly, and then improve any behaviors that you need to based off what you see in the stats. I'm Jared, I'm an account executive here at Gong, and that's how I use the product every day.